Hello and welcome to another edition of Campus Voices. I'm Ford Clark, your host, as I am every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock right here at 90.3 KRNU. And today we are very gracious to have Kim Cameron in studio with us today.
So great to be here.
Well, we really do appreciate it that you're here in town, and because you're kind of a world traveler, you're all over the place. We'll back up here for a sec first. You went to high school here in Lincoln.
I went to high school at Lincoln East, and I also went to UNL, the broadcasting school, which was not in this
it was
beautiful.
Over in Avery at the time.
It was in Avery, so
Indeed.
I was a little confused trying to get here. But and boy, this is really incredible. I wish this had been the setup when I was
me too.
going to school.
Me
anyway.
too. Yeah. So you went to broadcast school. What did you do after college?
I actually went and worked at the Smithsonian Institute for a little bit, and then did a variety of sort of government contractor jobs, a lot of PR work and some marketing work. Kind of did the whole corporate thing for quite a few years, and then broke free. Okay. And now I'm in a totally different, unrelated to anything I've ever done before, music industry.
Right. I was going to say, now you got into the music industry. What
Yes.
got you into the music industry? Was it something you had always wanted to do? Was it just by happenstance? What got you into the music industry?
Well, there's a couple things. First, when I was trying to climb the corporate ladder, I found myself getting a little bit more and more on that hard. Women have a tendency to get very hard when they get into the corporate world, just because it's I think a survival mechanism.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I had a dear friend of mine who said to me, Kim, you're changing. But he didn't say that as if that were a compliment. It was that, boy, you really are changing in a bad way. And at the same time, I had a brother-in-law who had cancer, and there was a weekend where it was kind of touch and go. It was pretty serious surgery, and he came out of it fine. But I ended up writing my first song, and it was sort of the impetus to, what am I doing? Do I really want to die and have on my gravestone that I worked really hard in the corporate world, or do I want to be doing something that I have a lot of passion for? And
Right.
I've always been in music, and I've done lots of side cover band kind of things my whole life. But it occurred to me at that point that I was either going to continue down the road and just be kind of a mean person, which is what I was turning out to be, or I could change the course, and I jumped right into music, and it was super scary, and but I couldn't be happier.
Now, where were you when you decided to, where did you live?
I'd moved down to D.C.
Okay. So did you have to make contacts in the music industry down there? Or did you have to look to New York City or out to the West Coast, or
all of the above? D.C. is a terrible music town. They're not, they're filled with lots of politicians,
right.
And lawyers that don't necessarily look for opportunities to instill arts into a community. So it was a little challenging being in the city and branching out. So I found myself probably going to New York and LA the most. And I had lots of, stumbles along the way, because it was a world I was not familiar with.
Right.
Just because you're in a cover band doesn't mean anything when you're trying to do an original project and start your own independent label. There's the business side of it, which I was comfortable with, but then there was the creative side and the connection side that I had nothing. So I started at zero and had to work my way through all of those minefields.
Which sounds like it was a very daunting task. I know you hear stories of folks in the music industry that have either grown up close to the music industry or had contacts right away. You kind of just dove into the deep end of the pool.
I did, and it would have been helpful had I had like family members or a bunch of friends who were part of the music industry. Now I have those friends, but at the time, all I knew were people that were in, corporate, and of course, they couldn't even spell music, let alone guide me to what I should be doing, right? So it was extremely challenging. But I was, when you're really determined to change your life and change a direction, you can do it. It takes a lot. And, of course, a lot of people thought I was crazy, which, maybe I am crazy. It's very possible.
But you've made it. So.
But I got there through a lot of hard work.
Now you sing, really, your music really kind of incorporates elements from a lot of different genres. Would you say that's fairly accurate?
Well, the first album, I would say, I've always been on the pop side. The first album was a little bit more pop rock, just because of the influence I had. Was a guitar player who co-wrote a lot of the songs. So I would say that was released in 2008. It wasn't really the direction I wanted to go, but it was the only thing I knew what to do at the time. And since then, you kind of traverse through various producers and different music artists to find your place. And so I would say the second album, which was released in 2010, was very much on the pop side. And then by the time I hit the third album, it was very much on the dance pop, and I'm full on dance, pop electronica at this point. But it took a couple albums for me to get to really where I would say my sweet spot is, what I feel most comfortable writing and performing. But it does take a while. Those are kind of some of those stumbling blocks that, it helped me at first to be a little bit on the rock side, but it also hurt me because it took me a while to get my brand identity. I'm not really like a rocker chick. I don't play that part really well. But I did get some great airplay because I had a really nice producer who knew how to do pop rock. So it all worked out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it. Kim Cameron is our guest here on Campus Voices today, UNL grad, UNL Broadcast School grad, who has made it in the music business. How do you think, now, you take a lot of, or rather, you write a lot of your own music. Where does, I guess we'll go this way first. Where does your inspiration come from? You talked about your brother-in-law that had cancer, was one of your original inspirations. Where do you find inspiration these days?
I get it from people. So some of the songs I write from personal experiences, but I would say 80% of them are all about other people I've met. Could be friends, not too much on the family side, and some have been sort of strangers that I met on the road touring that I was really intrigued with. They had a great story, so I wanted to tell their story. So at the end of the day, kind of where the journalism background comes in, I think, is I'm a storyteller, and I continue to be a storyteller with any song that I write.
How do you think your Midwestern roots have helped you while you've been in the music business?
This is going to sound a little strange, but I think Midwesterners listen. Having lived both on the West Coast and the East Coast, they take their time. If you talk to them, you can see that they're not thinking, well, what do I have to do next? Which is a little bit of what I see on the East Coast. And the West Coast is more, what can I do next? And I think Midwest, I find they take their time to, who is this person and what are they trying to do? I mean, they kind of give you a little bit more than I see on the coast.
I would totally agree with that. I have family all over the United States, and Midwesterners just really are good at listening. And, Midwesterners make good storytellers, too. You talked about it in your songs. You're just telling stories about people, and I think that's what helped with your music is that people can relate to it. I think that's a big part of it, that personal opinion. I'm going to give you a little chance to brag on yourself. You've won some awards as well.
I did. My album that came out in 2012 was Album of the Year. 2013, I won a different award for Best Live Performance, and that was on, that actually went on Comcast for the country on demand, which was really fun. And then this past 9 months, I've hit Billboard charts twice in the top 20 in the dance club charts. So that was really, really fun.
Yeah.
I've hit the media-based charts a number of times with probably like 8 times in the top 200 and, various in between. And right now because of my songs being in the dance world, there's a lot of DJ pool charts that are out there. But I did get my first #1 with my recent single, so I was pretty excited about that.
That's fantastic. How much time do you have to spend on the road, and how do you balance that out with being able to sit down and write music, and just how do you do all of those things at once, so to speak?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I haven't quite figured that out. And in fact, my manager is trying to get me to write another song to be ready to release. And I'm struggling with it right now because I don't believe in forcing songs.
Right.
If it doesn't flow out. So it's like trying to get to that place where I can actually identify with something to write about it. And, I'm not there.
Well, I won't take up too much more of your time. One more question, though. Do you still get to follow the Huskers?
Absolutely.
Still,
and I'll be at the game tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate it. And we certainly wish you continued success.
Thank you.
You bet. That's Kim Cameron, UNL grad, UNL Broadcast School grad, who is now a very popular musician here in the United States. That is Campus Voices for another Sunday. Join us again next Sunday at 10 a.m. I'm your host, Ford Clark.